we've got our bird shrunk and set to the size we want and working, I'd also like to now create some better looking graphical versions of our tubes. To do that, I'm simply going to go and create a new document. So I'm going to say new, and I already know the width and height that I'm going to have this, because in our code we said the tube must be 50 wide and 400 tall, and that's in pixels. The last thing I'm going to do in here is just go to my advanced options and just say to fill the background color with a transparency, and you'll see why in a second. Once I click OK, drag this new window over that we've created, and I'm simply going to use the rectangle select tool to go and select a section of this. Now I'm going to be selecting most of this box. You'll notice down here we have labelled, just below my mouse cursor, the dimensions of where the mouse is in regard to this new image. And I'm just going to come in, well in this case 7 from the X position, which means I'm going to have to come from the 50 boundary that's going to be on the right hand side here. I'm going to come in 7 as well, so that'll be to 43, and come all the way to the bottom. It doesn't have to be perfect, of course, it's just I want it to be quite well proportioned. So I'm going to come across to 43. Perfect. And this selection now, I'm going to be using the gradient tool, the blend tool, to get a nice look. We can choose a colour scheme that I would like for this, anything that you think would look particularly good for your tube. It could be made out of wood, it could be anything you like. I'm just going to go with something a little bit more traditional possibly. Let's just go with Caribbean blue, see how this looks. And I'll just draw a line, so click and hold to draw a line over this, and you'll find that you can get different gradients, and as you drag in different directions you'll start to experiment with how you can change things, whether you want it to be green at the top or green at the bottom, etc, etc. I'm going to have mine mostly green with a little bit of fade out in between. My next job is to go and create another section just over the bottom here, like so, and in this section I'm going to do exactly the same thing and just put another little gradient section in there. And that way I end up with something that looks a little bit like a tube. I know not the colour scheme of the traditional, but I don't see any problem with that. We need to save that first, so we've got our first tube saved. Don't worry too much about where I'm saving it again, because I'm working on my Mac, but you want to save it into, for example, your pictures folder in your documents, or wherever you're storing this file. For me, I'm just going to go and save that. Sorry, we're not going to save, we're going to export it because we want it to be a PNG. So export, and I'm going to call this one toptube.png, and I'm just going to save that in that folder for me. Export. And the only thing left to do here is I'd like to create the other tube, effectively the bottom tube, which faces the opposite direction. To do this, I'm going to need to switch which way round it is facing. So we go to the layers tool at the top, and I'm going to transform this shape now, and I could rotate it 180 degrees. And now we've got it facing the other way up, and I'm just going to go to File, Export it once more, making sure I export as this time because I need to export it as a different file name, and I'm going to export it as bottom tube.png. Export that. Make sure they're saved somewhere sensible for you, and then we're ready to plod on with programming them into our game. So now what's left to do is, as you know, we've got the bird location stored here, and then we changed where bird was created to the bird's location and making it an add image. So we need to modify how we created top tube and bottom tube now. So I'm going to start off by storing the location of both of these tubes. So I'm going to say top tube location equals, I'll take the location of the previous image we used because I've saved it in the same folder, and just change bird to be top tube. I'm going to do a similar thing now for the bottom tube. just going to copy and paste that line of code. Instead, make this file the bottom tube.png. The name of the file, the name of the image that I'd like to create is going to be bottom tube location. So this is just storing those locations. Now lastly, where we created top tube before as a rectangle, I'm now going to create it as an image. So add image, and the image name is, or the image location, sorry, is top tube location. Top tube location. We do the same for the bottom tube now. So as opposed to add image, add rectangle, sorry, we're going to change that to add image, and change that to the bottom tube location. And this should be all working on our game now. So if we go and run that, we have a pretty funky looking game. I think the last thing we'll probably want to create is a nice background to go with this, and then I think all our graphics are pretty much there for our use.